Okay, today we're going to go back over some ideas you might already know, you should already know, but we're going to try and consolidate all our work that we've done with geometry so far. But now we've got these little videos, and maybe it'll make it a little bit easier for a lot of us. The first thing we're going to look at is the idea that opposite angles are equal. When you take two straight lines and you cross them, you create something in between the lines. It's called an angle. And the thing is, when you have two straight lines, the angles on either side are exactly equal to each other. Now, you could put a protractor on here and measure the angle, and you'd find that both of these angles are equal. Whenever you use the idea that opposite angles are equal, so if that's 40, you could say, hey, on the other side, it must be 40 degrees. You have to write these symbols, opposite angles equal. Every time in geometry, when you make a statement, you got to give a reason. So that's the first one. The next one, this almost looks like a protractor right here, and there is really something to it. If you have a straight line, if you have two different angles, the angles always add up to 180 degrees. Here's an angle, a smaller angle, formed between this point and the straight line, and then this orange line here. Well, the angle on the other side, if it makes a straight line, it's always got to add up to 180 degrees, just about by definition. You could have 5 different angles here, but if they all get together and form a straight line, then they must add to 180 degrees. The reason, if we ever use this to figure out an angle, is angles in a straight line. The next thing is, if you have a triangle, if you measure the angles in every corner, they all have to add up to equal 180 degrees as well. If you cut the ends off this triangle and you put them together, you'd find they form a straight line, which we know is 180 degrees. If you ever use it, use this symbol here. The angles is the reason. You don't have to write all the words out, just angles sum in a triangle. Here's one that's a little bit harder. I mean, thinking about why it's true might take a little time. But if you have a triangle and you extend the line out beyond the triangle, there's an angle that's formed here. It's called the exterior angle. Something special happens. If you take the opposite interior, the opposite ones on the inside, they always add up to equal the exterior angle. Now, if you ever use this idea, like say you know that this is 60 and that's 60, then this one would have to be 60 plus 60. It would have to be 120. If you ever use it, you just have to write down the exterior angle of the triangle, and that's it. One more here. If you have a triangle that's got exactly the same length of sides here, that triangle is called an isosceles triangle. And there's a special reason working out isosceles triangles. If you've got two sides that are equal, then the two angles have to be equal. Or if you have two angles equal, the two sides are equal. But you've got equal angles are always opposite equal sides. So if you know those two sides are equal, if one's 50, the other's got to be 50. It's called equal angles, opposite equal sides. Okay, now I'm going to take you through a question. These are exam questions, so they ended up on exams. I'll just go over it. So here's a picture, a triangle, all these letters, the two lines crossing. Well, let's just take a look at the first thing. This angle here, x, is what you're supposed to find. It says find x, y, and z. Well, this angle x has to fit with this angle on the other side. You get 2 marks for this. You write x equals 80 degrees. And the reason is opposite angles are equal. When two lines cross, those two angles are equal. Okay, well now this z here, if x is 80 degrees, z must be 100 degrees. And why? Because it's got to add up to 180 degrees. 80 plus 100 is 180 degrees. Z equals 100 degrees because the angles on a straight line we know sum to 180. Well, now we've got X, we've got Z. Well, if that's 100 and that's 30, we know that the angles inside this triangle have to add up to 180. So you just go 130, subtract it from 180 degrees, because the angles sum in a triangle to 180 degrees. Okay, there's actually another way you could do it. We know that X is 80 degrees. Well, that means these two have to add up to 80 degrees. So Y must be 50. 50 plus 30 is 80. Two different reasons you could use. This thing would be worth 6 marks. Well, that's just about it for today. Hope that helps. Okay.